Hello everybody, welcome back to Easy Weeknight Cooking with Hart's Desire Spice Blends, and it is that time of year. It's fall, the apples are ripe, and guess what? We have pumpkins. So, what are we doing tonight? We're doing pumpkin custard from scratch, and believe you me, it's not as hard as it's all cracked up to be, and it's absolutely delicious. So, what are we going to be using? We are going to be using the brand new pumpkin spice. And guess what? That's all we had left from this week's blending. I've been very sparing with this, and all 6 jars sold this last weekend at the Umpqua Valley Farmers Market. We'll be making more on Thursday. So, come Saturday and get your jars. But we can use either that, or we have also tried this with chai spice, and it is just as amazing. So you can use your chai spice, you can use your pumpkin spice, whatever you like. If you have some of the sweet breakfast left over, yes, we will do custom blends of that for anybody who needs them. But if you have any sweet breakfast left over, you can use that in this as well. So maybe I ought to get the recipe in the comments, just a little. So, tell you what, let me go ahead and do that right quick. We've got it right here. And let me go ahead and find the video. That's always a good thing, right? You know, I'm right there, right? Gotta find it here too. So, I'm gonna find the video, pop the recipe in the comments with notes on how to do your own pumpkin puree. You don't always have to get it from the store in a can. That's what we want to kind of get away from, right? Is getting everything from the store in a can. And like I said, believe you me, it's a lot simpler than you might think. So, let me find my cursor. There we go. And we are dropping the recipe in the comments as we speak. And let's get on to some custard. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start with a whole pumpkin. And I'm going to show you the steps along the way. I actually got a new toy for my birthday and an Instant Pot. I already had a microwave pressure cooker, which I adore, but Instant Pot just makes it a little nicer. So anyway, I've got one of those, and guess what I steamed my pumpkin in? Instant Pot. So there are several ways to do your pumpkin. You can bake it, you can steam it, you can pressure cook it, you can boil it, which is not horribly well recommended. And the reason why is boiling your pumpkin just puts a ton of water into it. Makes a very watery pumpkin pie, which is not always appetizing. So what I recommend is steaming, baking, or pressure cooking your pumpkin in order to get it, you know, nice and done. And I'm going to show you the befores and afters. So come on this way with me, my darlings. And we will do pumpkin custard. Okay, maybe I need to back you up just a wee bit. There we go. Now you can see my cutting board right here. So we're going to start off. Be very careful when you're cutting your pumpkin. Now, isn't this cute? You know, that's just darling. A friend of mine grows pumpkins, and I have gotten no less than 4 in the last 2 weeks. 4. We've been doing pumpkin custard amongst pumpkin custard to just get this recipe down pat and perfect. So, anyway, get yourself a nice ripe pumpkin. I really love the little sugar pumpkins. These are pied pumpkins. They don't get very big. One of these will do about 1 pie or 1 batch of custard. And so, start off, you're going to need to de-seed this guy. And so we're going to start off away from you. Be very careful. These guys are dense, and it's easy for them to get away from you. So cut that way away from you, and then there we go. On the other side of your stem end, you're going to make a slice and just pry that puppy open. There you go, along the stem. You're not going to cut through that stem. Trust me, it doesn't work too well. So you're going to cut it in half. Be very careful. Sometimes what you'll do is you'll actually make a slice on the pumpkin so that it sits nice and flat while you're working on it. So the next thing you're going to want to do is find a spoon with kind of sharp edges on it, because we're going to be scraping away the membrane that holds the seeds. And what you're going to do is you're going to be scraping the actual surface of the inner part of the pumpkin in order to do that. So I have me a trash can right here, so I don't have to put this stuff into the sink. But this actually is not the smoothest edge ever. This is actually a pretty cheap spoon. And I actually love it for this application because it will kind of cut and scrape a little bit using the very edge. So start off here, and you're going to start by cutting that membrane away from the side, just like so. And as you can see, there's no orange stringies there. It's actually a little bit more yellow than the inside gets when there's strings attached. So this time we really do not want any strings attached, not at all. So go ahead and do that all the way around as much as you can. Now around the root end and stem end, it's a little harder. So go ahead and flip that over. Go ahead and cut the membranes along there and scrape those membranes out. You can see that it's really, really darker orange around your seeds. Now, if you want to keep your seeds and if you want to bake them later and just have roasted pumpkin seeds, do it. Absolutely. Pumpkin seeds are a wonderful snack. And what you can do if you really want to go at it is you soak them, you brine them. You soak them in water, salt, and a little bit of your favorite seasoning, say jambalaya mix, to give them a little bit of that salty kick after they've been roasted. So this side is nice and clean. There's not a whole lot of strings attached. And that, my friends, is how you clean a pumpkin. After that, I put this into the Instant Pot for about 7 minutes on high pressure as a pressure cook. Now, 10 minutes, you can do it for 10 minutes depending on the size of the pumpkin. If it's a really dense pumpkin, you might want to do this between 10 and 20 minutes. But start around 7 if it's a small pumpkin like this, and you can always put it in longer. Absolutely. So that's what we do here. Here we go. I'm putting this in. Ooh, this isn't going to work too well. Come here. Let me see here. There we go. We're putting this in like so, and the other one will go right next to it. And this is the Instant Pot pan that you see here. You can also put this on a cookie sheet and put it in the oven, about 350 to 400. Check it with a fork periodically. See if the fork goes in and comes out easily. As long as it's fork tender, it's done. Fork tender meaning, stick a fork in it and it kind of drops off the fork, or the fork comes out very easily. So I'm going to put this aside, because right now we do not need that, because we have some pumpkin that just came out of there not too long ago. And so once that is done, you've gone ahead and let the pressure off, or you've baked it, or you've steamed it. It's fork tender, it's gorgeous. Bring it up, let it cool. And this gorgeous fork tender, should try to fall apart a little bit. And again, we're going to break out that spoon. So you're going to want to come over here and take a look. I'm going to adjust this so you guys can see a little bit better. And there we go. Now, one of the things about working in a real studio is you have people to do this for you. But, you know, hey, what can we say? So anyway, now that you can see things, you can see the pumpkin is really just kind of falling apart, and it's falling off its skin, which is awesome. We want that. And so we are going to want to get out a blender to put everything in. And so we definitely are going to be making this whole thing pretty much in a blender. So Instant Pot, blender, and oven. You're done. Seriously. And you can actually cook this in the Instant Pot. You just don't get that wonderful browning on the top. So we want 2 cups, count them 2, of pumpkin puree. Now, I have found there is a cheat. Go ahead and scrape your pumpkin off of the skin. And it should not be hard to do at this point. If your pumpkin is done, go ahead and scrape it off the skin. And sometimes you can just outright peel it just like that. Definitely. You see how easily that comes off? I mean, you can just scrape it on the edge of the bowl and it's done. Seriously. This is still a little bit warm, so I'm going to have to put it down a little bit. But go ahead and scrape that flesh off of the pumpkin skin. Leave the skin, because that skin is tough and it's going to add little bits that you really don't want. So when they ask for pumpkin puree, really what they're asking for is a very smooth amount of just flesh. And so what we can do is we can make sure that this pumpkin is all the way done, and then squish it into your measuring cup. You're done. You've got pumpkin puree at that point. Now you can get a can of pumpkin puree, and you don't have to go through this messy part. I just think it tastes so much better when you do the real deal. And honestly, it's really not that hard. Just a little time consuming. And even then, it's not that time consuming either. So sometimes it's worth it to go all the way back to the basics. That skin can go away. Whoop! Yeah, seriously done pumpkin. Go ahead and scrape this off the skin. There we go. And put that aside. Grab that bit that fell out, and we've got more pumpkin that fell out. And now we can squish this down into our measuring cup, just like so. And we're going to be squishing out the air bubbles. And so sometimes you're going to want to stab it a little bit like that, and then press it down again. And that's effectively all that needs to be done in order to get your pumpkin puree. You do not need to put it into a blender yet. Now, when you're doing this, yes, you will want to put this in a blender to make sure that you don't get this stringy texture. Oop, come here. There is a stringy texture to pumpkin, as you can see there. And a lot of people find that really objectionable in a pumpkin pie. So, putting it through the blender makes it just silky smooth. Silky smooth. And what's more, you don't have to get out the mixer at all. Just pop it in the blender, let the blender do all the work. Score! And what's more is when you're pouring it into your custard cups later on, you got a handy dandy little pouring device right there. Okay, there we go. This stuff is just falling off the skin. This is great. And so, you know, you're looking at a full pumpkin here. I've got a little bit more here in the bowl, right there. And I'm going to push this down once more, mash it up a little bit more. It doesn't really need a whole lot that way. Now go ahead and compact it. See how much more I really need. Not that much. So, I'm going to scoop some more out and be careful that I don't get some of the skin in there, because the skin really it's kind of leathery, honestly. And little bits of it will be kind of a turn off to the palate. Now, if a little bit does get in, yeah, it's not going to be the end of the world, seriously. But you don't want the entire skin in there. That's just kind of not right. Okay, there we go. We have 2 cups of pumpkin, and these can go off to the side. So, 2 cups of pumpkin go into our blender right there. And we're also going to need 1 cup of sweetener. Now, this can be sugar or this can be something else. I have seen recipes that even use maple syrup here, which is really great sounding, honestly. But we decided not to go there because not everybody uses maple syrup. And this is just a lot easier to handle with things that are commonly available and not that expensive. So from here, we are going to need 1 cup of heavy cream. Now, we chose heavy cream because we tried this with milk. We tried this with half milk, half cream. We found that there was just a richness that was lacking when we went with milk. We really wanted the extra fats in there. And it just kind of made the whole thing come alive. Really it did. Okay. Now, next, we're going to want 1 cup of sugar or sugar substitute. There we go. Now, this is not 1 cup, obviously. This is a quart-sized jar. But let's go ahead and get our 1 cup. Now, you can go anywhere from 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup here, depending on your sweet tooth. Me, I think I'd probably rather go for 3/4 because this can get really rich really quick. But some people, like some people in my family even, they just want as much sweet as they can possibly get. So, you know, when I'm doing this for them, I get a full cup of sugar. Now, what's next? 4 eggs, 4 large eggs. And we need this because that's the basis of any custard, really. You can make a custard with just milk or cream and eggs. Matter of fact, my grandfather, when he was alive, at one point his digestion was not doing that well. His doctors really just wanted him kind of on more of a liquid diet. And he was just having a hard time swallowing things. So my mom calls me from, 500 miles away. That's 1 egg. Bring my trash can closer to me. And goes, Nat, I need inspiration here. You can only do so much Jell-O and stuff like that. And I go, what about custard? It's got a good amount of, if you don't sweeten it too much, it's got a good amount of protein in it. And so Grandpa was really funny. And that was 3. 1 more. Grandpa was really funny. He didn't always admit straight up when he really loved something. Instead, he'd sneak back into the kitchen at midnight and get a snack in the middle of the night. And that's what he did with Mom's custard. So, anyway, the next thing we are going to need 1 1/4 teaspoons of pumpkin spice. The star of the show, right? Absolutely. So, that's about as much as I've got. Right there. 1 1/4. Okay. Now, where did my lid go? There we are. Now, we're gonna pulse this a couple of times and just make sure that everything gets smooth. And that's all you really need do that. Make sure your oven is about 400 degrees, and go ahead and start preheating it about now. And from here, go ahead and pulse this. Throw it into some Ramekins. I definitely suggest that you guys get some of these. These are wonderful. And you can do this, you can do custard cups, or you can even put it in a pie shell and just do it that way. Generally, you're gonna want to put these in some sort of water bath in order to get them to cook right. So, we're going to blend this up. You see, that may happen occasionally. None of the liquid actually made it past the pumpkin down into the bottom. So turn it off before you put anything in there. And just plunge something down to the bottom. And make a hole for that cream to go down in there. There we go. Go ahead and scrape your spatula off. Oop, get back in there. You. Scrape that spatula off and try this again. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, we're going to actually do this a few times. Why? You can see here, it's not blending all that evenly. So, shake it a little bit. Make sure you hold that lid on really good. You've got your hand here and hand here. Shake it a little bit, gently. And there we go. Let something go blurb. And then you can take this off and take a look. Sweet. Look at that. You've got yourself an ultra pourable custard. Ultra pourable. Go ahead and fill up your Ramekins, about 3/4 of the way full. From here, you're going to fill your baking dish after you clean it out a little bit. Because I had pumpkin in this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to set this in here and then pour in about 1 inch of water. And that's it. Put it in the oven, let it go, and I've got something to show you. Don't do that, it hurts. There you go. Isn't that gorgeous? There you have, my friends, pumpkin custard from your own kitchen, from scratch. And it doesn't take that much. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, you can do this with or without the water bath. And the texture just gets so much nicer with the water bath because you're actually steaming them, not just baking them. And so from our kitchen to yours, I've got a mess to clean up, but this is going to be so tasty. Oh my goodness. So keep things tasty. There you have it. You have pumpkin custard from total scratch, or you can use the canned. Make sure you use 4 eggs, 2 cups of custard, 1 cup of cream, and your sweetener, and whatever you like. Pumpkin spice, chai spice, sweet breakfast, they're all fantastic. Though if you really love that ginger kick, definitely pumpkin spice. It's got quite a bit in there. And so I bake it for about 20 to 30 minutes at 400 in a water bath, and you're gold. Your water bath is going to be no more than 3/4 of the way up your Ramekins. Have yourself a great one. Keep things tasty, and that's a wrap. Let's eat.